Japan was mainly silver. Gold and silver ratio here was 5 to 1. At the same time, England was like 16 to 1. So when they noticed that difference, they came to Japan with lots of silver and they changed it gold, and lots of gold went out from the country.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Silver Bullion Television, SBTV. I'm your host, Patrick Vierra, part of the outreach team of Silver Bullion here in Singapore, where we want to help you truly secure your wealth. Bruce Ikemizu joins us today. Bruce is the Chief Director and Precious Metals Specialist at the Japan Bullion Market Association, or JBMA. Back in 2019, Bruce founded the Japan Bullion Market Association, and with Bruce's help, I hope to share with you a market we may not be all that familiar with, yet does play a key role with both currencies and gold. And we're delighted to have Bruce here as a first time guest. It's time to saddle up and silver up for Bruce Ikemizu. Bruce, welcome to SBTV. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Patrick. I'm very glad to be here and talking to you.
Glad to have you on as a first time guest. And as a first time guest, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Okay, I've been in this industry for about 37 years. I started my career at one of the Japanese trading house, Sumitomo Corporation, and then since then I worked for Credit Suisse, ICBC Standard Bank, and then Mitsui and Company, then ICBC Standard Bank. And 2019, I left the bank and now working. I set up the Japan Bullion Market Association in 2019, and since then I'm working as a kind of gold specialist.
Yeah, it's very interesting because back in 2019, you decided to set up the Japan Bullion Market Association, or JBMA. What drove you to create the JBMA?
Well, I have been working in this, in this industry. Precious metals for a long, long time. I think probably the longest as a Japanese businessman, because usually Japanese like trading houses has a job rotation, and once you may trade precious metals for 5 years, then you move to other department. But I just kept on doing it, and so this my past business is really only the precious metals, and I wanted to kind of contribute to the market as to boost the investment of the people to the precious metals in Japan.
Can you share with us, let's say, the main one or two purposes of the JBMA? And respectfully, I'm asking this because people were generally familiar with the LBMA, yet we might not have known about others, such as the SBMA here in Singapore, the Singapore Bullion
Hmm.
Market Association, and
Hmm.
of course, the Japan Bullion Market Association in Japan. So could you share with us maybe the one or two main purposes?
Yeah, we're not that official, that big institutions like LBMA or SBMA now, but we are working with like Japan exchanges and some of the futures brokerage houses, also banks. So it is more. We are more orientated, or more. We are looking at more on the investment side. Although I know most of the people in the business, this industry, smelters, recyclers, retail sellers, and also mining houses and trading houses. So we want to, make the market more efficient. Well, I would say 20 years ago, we had this Tokyo Bullion Dealers Club to associate with associate within the business. But now we don't have that anymore, and nobody wants to do that kind of activity. So I thought, I had enough working experience in trading, and so I might be able to help everyone to connect the as a precious metals business world. So that's what we are really hoping to do. Of course, first thing we could do is uh, to induce the investors. I mean, lots of investors here in Japan, but their main interest is in stock market, and so we want to let them know about gold, especially gold, but precious metals. The different part of the investment vehicles.
When you were the process of setting up the JBMA, did you find much resistance or did you find a lot of help? How was that process?
Oh, good question. I would say there's not much resistance. I mean, of course, maybe some people thought, this is we don't need this or something some kind of that. I mean, because there are very traditional companies in this world, and they have like more than some of them have like more than 100 years experience in the business. So in that case, they may not need us to do anything in the market, but lots of people. I mean, especially we are looking at the investors who doesn't know about gold at all, and missing the chance to have the portfolios that in their portfolios that precious metals like gold and platinum, silver, to hedge their risks that they cannot. I mean, they cannot hedge in the stock market or FX market. So most of the people are really helping us to make their products known to investors.
Nice, nice. So I'll touch on the a little bit of the demographics further down, but if you could, how much gold does Japan, let's say, import and maybe even export?
Japan is very unique in that import and export aspects of the bullion. When I was much younger, when I was like 20 in 20s, 30s, in the trading houses, our main business was importing gold from like Australia, South Africa, or major producing countries to sell it in Japan to physical investors. But I would say since the introduction of the consumption tax, which is around late 80s or early 90s, um, things changed a bit. Uh, After I started with, let's say, Mitsui and Company, like 1990, um, the import of gold is getting less and less, get less and less, and Japan became more of an exporter of gold. Although we have only one gold mine in Kagoshima Prefecture, which has only like 6 tons per year, so it's really nothing. But we had this problem of smuggling, which we still have, because if you brought gold from the overseas, like let's say like from Hong Kong, where there's no barrier tax for the gold, right? And then you can brought it into gold secretary. I mean that is smuggling, and if you sell it here in Tokyo in Japan, you get 10% more than gold price, which is consumption tax rebate. So that became a very big business I mean, of course it's a crime, but as the gold price going up like this, the 10% became very large, right? So without much risk, they can make 10%. So lots of gold coming in to Japan by smuggling. So Japan is still now export country. I think it's around probably 100 tons per year. We are exporting to other areas of the world, especially I would say Southeast Asia, China, those countries close enough and have very good demand of the gold. That's quite peculiar that we don't really have any gold mines here, but we are still an exporting country. And also we produce gold. It's not from mining, but from our smelters who import like copper concentrate or other base metals like aluminum or nickel. Um, so in producing copper, they have the byproduct gold and silver. So the Japanese smelters, I would say like 100 tons of production of gold per year and 1,600 tons of silver from them. So we also import silver from like Mexico or Australia, Peru, Korea, China, because silver is you need silver for the solar panel productions and car electronics and everything. So Japan is big importer of silver, but in gold, the only demand we have in here is investment. As you know, the gold is not industrial metal. Gold is for safekeeping. So gold is we have 100 tons of production by Japanese smelters, and also smuggled gold is inside the country. So as a result, our demand is not much less than the total gold we have here. So the export is naturally export will be bigger.
If you're enjoying this interview with Bruce, Ikemizu, and I, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And did you know that at Silver Bullion, when you store with us, you can use your bullion as collateral for a secured loan? Silver Bullion's peer-to-peer bullion secured loan program has enabled people storing with us to have made some 600 million plus US dollars worth of loans with zero defaults. To find out more, go to www.silverbullion.com.sg and click on the P2P loans tab. Or email me, Patrick at silverbullion.com.sg, and I'll help to get you started. Any plans do you foresee where the government may give some relief or do away with that consumption tax?
Well, personal opinion, it's quite difficult. From the well, I think Singapore is pretty much different situation, right? You had the consumption. You had value added tax, but now you don't have the investment class gold, right? But here, everything is taxed. It's not only bullion, but everything like food or everything you have to pay 10% over the price, and they cannot really exempt gold from that system. So what they do is when we buy gold, we pay 10%. And when we sell gold, we get back 10%. This is how it works. This consumption tax basically borne by consumer who uses the product. And nobody uses gold, right? You keep it and someday you sell, right? So then if you sell, the consumption tax would be borne by the buyers. So that is going in gold case, unless you melt it down and you make something, you don't have to really pay the tax. So the government, well, once you charge consumption tax, it's difficult to change it. And also, if you want to change it, there's lots of things which uses gold, like jewelries. But jewelry you can't really make it without tax. So, but okay, bullion, okay, the gold coins, or then 49 gold jewelry. How about it? It's very difficult to discern all the gold. So I don't think they will change the policy.
So within the JBMA, do you think the consumption tax maybe drives gold investors towards ETFs rather than physical?
Yeah, well, as long as in the I mean in Japan, it doesn't really matter because you can get the tax back. I mean, if you buy physical 10%, then when you liquidate it, you can get back 10%, right? So it's not problem. And actually, the people who have been long investing gold like 20, 30 years ago since now, then okay, 20 years ago, you buy gold without tax. There was no consumption tax at that time, right? And if you sell it now, you get 10%. So everyone get 10%. So consumption tax was 0%, 3%, 5%, 8%, and now 10%. So the when you bought the gold is quite important. And they, I know, paying back is the current tax rate, which is 10%. So you can actually, if you don't pay the tax, if you buy the gold before the taxing era, then you get, additional 10%. So, which is good. And for the investment purpose, like gold ETF, or those funds and also gold account trading, there's no tax. You don't have to pay tax. You have to pay tax only when you withdraw the physical metal. So you can trade futures, and which includes no tax. But if you buy the futures contract and if you didn't sell it back, you just pay the amount and you get the physical at the maturity date, then you have to pay 10% consumption tax. That's how it works. So as long as investors' point of view, it's the same.
I mean, I guess with the import export, all these things, and the economy, how it's going, whether people see it as good or bad. I'm curious to know when we saw all this central bank buying of gold over the past, 6 months to 2, 3 years back. Has the Bank of Japan also participated and added to its gold reserves as well?
But that's a good question as well. Japan, just like U.S., is a country which really touches gold. We have, I think, 950 tons or something. No, 850. I don't exactly remember. But Japan has gold. I mean, central bank. But they really haven't touched the gold for years. I mean, well, look at it this way: we are under the umbrella of the U.S. And the best thing we can do, or maybe the best thing that government think they can do, is to keep U.S. dollar, not gold. I mean, this is actually this year's very surprise move is a Singapore. SBM, not SBMF, uh, MAS, Monetary Authority of Singapore, bought closely 100 tons of gold this earlier this year, right? I mean, China is buying, Russia is buying, India is buying, but I wouldn't be surprised, they buy gold because to keep the US dollar is now a risk for them. But Singapore is really kind of shocking because Singapore is not really like China or Russia, not really going against the US. But if MAS buys gold, they are purely, I thought they purely think this is a good way to, a good, I mean, good object for the investment. So that makes me very, very bullish.
Yeah, it's interesting how Japan still sees US dollar as that so-called safe haven type of currency.
Hmm.
Uh, but at the same time, we also saw Japan selling off quite a bit of bonds, US treasuries.
Hmm.
Um, w- what do you think were the reasons why Japan had that sell off, and do you think it'll continue to sell off U.S. Treasuries?
At very current situation, when Japanese yen is so weak, and they have to protect the Japanese yen, and which, of course, if they are well, they actually intervene in the market. They sell U.S. dollar, buy Japanese yen. So I think that's a major reason they sell the U.S. bond. Yeah, so that is to, they say, little smoothing operation, to to reply to this steeply weakening yen move. So it's just kind of warning type of thing. But basically, the foreign reserve in Japan is still the, most of them are U.S. bond.
Curious to know here. How does, let's say, yourself or overall the people in Japan, how do they view the de-dollarization going on, and the talks of a BRICS bringing up a gold-backed currency? Is that something everyday people talk about, or not so much?
Well, more and more people are, noticing that move, and I think Japanese investors, I mean, including myself, our biggest worry is really the weakening of the yen, the currency here. So, with those central banks move, we really kind of feel that, especially with the Japanese currency, our yen is getting weaker and weaker. If we don't do anything at all, I mean, our wealth, automatically decrease its values. And I'm talking to the investors, this past 2 3 years, that you have to do something to protect your yen. And the best thing, there are two things you can do. One is buy US dollar, selling yen. And the other thing is that to buy the gold in yen. With this move, you can get, if the yen getting weaker more, then you get, a gold in yen price higher, and also dollar denominated gold is going higher. So we have double effect to make the gold in yen much higher, and which is really happening now. The day before yesterday, we had the highest price in gold in Japanese yen, with the U.S. dollar gold, highest in the history. So I think lots of investors in Japan now feeling very much pressure about this weaker yen, because if, after the COVID, if you go, I the first country I went was Singapore last year, for the SBMA, I mean APPMC, and then the Singapore dollar to Japanese yen used to be like 65 to 85 yen per Singapore dollar. But last year it was already 100 yen per dust, for Singapore dollar. So it's, ooh, I was really kind of, ooh, everything is getting so expensive for me, and this year much more. So I guess, people who made a overseas trip now really feel that this purchasing power of yen is going really down and down. And that is, I think that is really felt by people, and they are trying to do something to protect their wealth.
Let me go back in time. I want to go so many different ways here, but let me go back in time. Yeah, I believe during the Tokugawa shogunate, gold and silver were circulated as currency. During the end of the Edo period, quite a bit of international trade was going on, and Japan, and eventually the Bank of Japan was formed, and then the yen eventually came in. I think during the Meiji Restoration period. Um, With what's going on today and knowing the history of gold and even silver as money, do you see people in Japan maybe looking for some type of a movement or something to get a type of a gold standard maybe to come back?
Well, personally, I don't think gold standard will come back. I mean, we don't have enough gold. I mean, in the world to suffice for this, global economy. But yeah, we have a very long history about gold and silver here in Japan, and as you say, the end of the shogunate era like close to 300 years independent, no contact from the overseas countries. We Japan was like silver, uh, mainly silver was the center of the currency, and gold and silver ratio here was 5 to 1.
Whoa.
Yeah, and right at the same time, England was like 16 to 1. So when they noticed that difference, they came to Japan with lots of silver, and they changed it gold, and lots of gold went out from the country. I think, Tokugawa, I mean Shogunate area, and before that era was Japan was one of the most um, active gold mining company. We had big mine in Sado Island and Toi, which is Izu area, and we had lots of production of gold during Tokugawa era. But yeah, all those were well, actually, all those were most of the gold were taken by Brits, I think. So that is very good arbitrage, the 1 to 5 against 1 to 16. So, but that is for trader. I think that is good, very good illustration of the arbitrage. But that so we had yes, we have been using gold and silver, and even in Meiji, gold is still a very good currency. I mean, very highly denominated currency. But after Meiji era, we just don't have enough gold, so we moved to the usual fiat currency, I think. Um, so still, from time to time, Japanese government. I mean, it was already 20 some years ago. Had the memorial gold coins for the emperor. 16 years reign of emperor. 100,000 yen gold coin, pure gold. But yeah, yeah. Do you know that coin?
I don't know that coin. I haven't seen it. Sorry to interrupt you. I rarely interrupt, but I remember back in Japan last year we stayed in Ginza. I did not know gin meant silver. And that whole area Ginza, very very popular still in Japan. There were a lot of mining companies were set up there. A lot of the minting that was for the I guess the shogunates, I guess still at that time was done there.
Yeah, that's right. Ginza means yes, silver group or something like that. I mean, lots of, as you say, lots of private mints, and they made silver coins or silver granules to trade. Yes, that's right. And we had kinza, or kin means gold. Kinza as well, but kinza is very less, and ginza actually is, oh yes, the famous Ginza is in Tokyo, but every local city has a Ginza as well, same name. So, silver was the center of the currencies in Japan. That's history tells
See,
this.
I mean, I'm just fascinated. The culture of silver and gold in Japan is so rich, and I admire you for being in that position, JBMA. I mean, it's like a perfect fit there. But I just want to touch a little bit on the economy, where not long ago the Bank of Japan They raised rates for the first time, I believe, in 17 years. I think from zero or so to 0.1% range.
No, yeah, yeah, right. I mean, the range is raised a little bit, but just a little bit. So it's not really that high, and that's I think it is difficult for them to keep raising the rates to like 2%, which they say their target is. But as you probably know, that Japan has the biggest debt in developed countries. We have about more than three times of the GDP's debt, and so that debt is you know dealt with the bond issuing by BOJ. If they raise the interest rate too much, their interest payment will become a very huge problem. So so that's one of the reasons that Japanese yen had weakened so much, because they have to keep longer interest rate very low, and so that makes the interest rate difference between U.S. and Japan is so huge, so wide, and everyone naturally sell yen and buy U.S. dollar. So, but Japanese government can't really do much, and unless U.S. start to lower their interest rate, which could happen this September, I think this yen weakness is basically the norm until this interest rate, the difference became much smaller.
It's kind of hard to say, but I guess whatever the U.S. does, it really does affect whatever Japan does.
Mm.
Do you think holding it that zero rate for so long? Do you think it was the right thing to do?
Well, I don't really think so. I mean, we should have raised a long time ago. They say like we lost 30 years. I mean, here in Japan, and yeah, it is true. My son started working 3 years ago, and I talked to him, and he said his first salary to me, and his first salary and my first salary was pretty much the same. You see, this time difference like 40 years, and salary doesn't change, didn't change, haven't changed. So that was surprising. If you imagine your salary, your first salary with with the freshman salaries now, must be a big difference, I guess, I suppose. So that means Japanese economy stayed pretty much the same for 30 years. No advancement.
So overall, what would you say the outlook is for gold in Japan?
If you look at the gold ETF balance, the as probably you know that because of this higher interest rate, the gold price is going up, but gold ETF or NYMEX CME futures that speculators long, investors long is getting less and less. People are selling gold because of the higher interest rate, right? But in Japan, it's totally different story. This past 2 years, we are seeing a lot of money coming into the gold ETF, and Japanese gold ETFs balances keep going up and up and up. Just very good contrast to US and Europe. Gold ETF is going down, right? So I think lots of people now really finding gold is very good investment vehicle. And well, I would say until 5 years ago, we are saying like probably 5% of our, your portfolio should be gold. But now people are talking about 25%. So the gold is not an alternative, but becoming, it's more the main investment target. So which is, yeah, I think this is very good for us. I mean, bullion business people. but for economy, maybe not good because stocks and bonds are the mainstream of the investment. But so when the gold price goes up, I guess the world is not really healthy. But so it's difficult to say, but for at least for bullion world, I think we are having a very good time, and we're gonna have. I'm still very bullish on gold. I think gold will go to like 3,000 next year. So yeah, gold will be as very much focused in global economy wise as well.
All right, completely agree with everything you said there. I mean, I'm looking to I'm seeing people go more and more into gold as well, silver as well. So I think we are seeing the same things in every corner of the world. Bruce Ikemizu, I appreciate your time with us, and how can the good people out there follow you and get more information on the JBMA?
Yeah, we have our own website pages, and also in October we're gonna have an investors huge seminar, and also in November we have professionals out. I mean, professionals meet in Tokyo, so that SBMA will be coming as we'll be sending delegates to our people, our party, so that they can see all the Japanese precious metals. Well, I mean, were precious metals business people. So I really want everyone to join the party as well. Uh, I think we have a very good chance to collaborate with SBMA and probably with Silver Bullion too.
Yeah, look, definitely look forward to it. I look forward to getting a chance to talk with you in person also. The reserve is getting close to completion, so we'd love to have you over once it's done.
Yeah, I couldn't see it this year, so next year I will be happy to visit the reserve. Yes, thank you.
All right, love to have you here. Bruce Ikemizu, head of the Japan Bullion Market Association. I'd like to thank you for the great info, your time, letting us kind of experience the Japanese market and appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
That was Bruce Ikemizu, head of the Japan Bullion Market Association, sharing his views and insights on Japan and gold. To see more of Bruce's work, please go to jbma.net. If you like this video, please do subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and share. All are greatly appreciated. Audio only versions of this interview can be found on iTunes and Spotify.